I am Fred Oakman, and here with Jake Peters, Mr. Jake Peters. And you're listening to PS's Awesome PlayStation Podcast. This is episode 352, where we're going to dive into our thoughts on all things PlayStation. Before we jump in, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/PS. This is awesome, where you can also watch the video version of this podcast. You can check out our trophy list on PSN. I am Anchorless_81, and Jake is JakeSaw01. Send your thoughts to psthisisawesome@gmail.com and share the show with your friends. Don't forget to rate us. And for just $1 on Patreon, you can join the one and only $1 club and receive a free die-cut vinyl sticker in the mail and a shout-out. So visit patreon.com/PS. This is awesome to support us. With that out of the way, Jake, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm tired. I'm sore. Still have the same chest issue that I was talking about last week.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because it will feel like it's totally fine, and then all of a sudden it just won't feel fine anymore. So I don't know if it has to do with, like, if I'm sitting in a certain position, like at my desk all day, and it feels fine, and then I get up and move around and it moves it differently, and that's why it starts hurting. But felt fine all day, and then got in my car to come home, and now it's bugging me. So I don't know if it has something to do with that. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I played last night and it's just starting to get sore again. You know, 'cause sometimes it's like an delayed onset soreness or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, doing okay. Got a roof that's leaking that still don't have a fix for that, so that's fucking stupid.
Have you reached out to them? What are they doing?
Yeah, the guy was supposed to come out yesterday and he didn't show up. And I finally was able to get a hold of him like 3 hours after he was supposed to be here, and he said that his truck broke down, so he wasn't able to make it.
Yeah,
and so we
sure
rescheduled for Wednesday. But starting tomorrow, we're supposed to get rain like every fucking day for the next week. So that's rad. So pumped to deal with that. But other than that, Saturday went to a wedding. It was my cousin's wedding. It was a really nice time. I got to bust out my new suit. Sarah got dressed up, and we went out and had a good time. He had a Catholic wedding ceremony, and boy, is there a lot going on there.
You're just you got to be thankful it's not like 100 degrees for that thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little over an hour long, which is, I mean, it's a full mass plus the wedding stuff, so it's a lot. And I'm really glad that Sarah and I did not have a ceremony in a church. We did it was still, we still had like my grandpa, who was a minister, be a part of it and stuff, but it wasn't like an official like church ceremony.
Yeah.
So, and so like, it's one of those things where it's like, really all you have to do is go down to the courthouse and sign a piece of paper. So like, why is the ceremony an hour long? But I get it. It's like, it's all this tradition and everything. But
well, when you're religious,
after that, we went,
there's a lot to it. Like I think like with I'm not religious, but like I think like with some churches, you have to go through a thing when you're getting married. You have to show up, be counseled by the
Catholic.
Be counseled by the priest.
It's like a school, like marriage school or whatever.
You go to like counseling before marriage starts.
Yeah, which is, I mean, to be honest with you, not even separate from the religious aspect. It's not a terrible idea. Like for you to have serious conversations with a third party about if it's a good idea for you to get married. I mean, obviously everybody should do whatever the fuck they want, but I think that there's so many people that they want to get married so badly that they overlook some things, and that can be unfortunate. But that said, regardless, the wedding ceremony was whatever. But they had the reception at Sparrow Hill, which used to be the farm, in on 18 there going to Greenville.
Oh yeah.
And where you guys did that video shoot. And dude, it's so different now because they remodeled the whole thing. And like when we were there, when you guys did that shoot, like that barn was still like basically the old barn and everything.
Yeah.
And it's all been remodeled and refinished and all this. And it was really nice. It was beautiful. We had a really great time. The food was good. The staff was really nice. The one thing that I will say that was a problem, and I don't know, this is something that's important to me, but I guess maybe it's not important to everybody, but I don't know how venues overlook this. There were 250 people at this reception. They had 2 single-use bathrooms. So
Unacceptable.
there was pretty much for 5 straight hours of like the first 4 to 5 hours of the reception, there was a line for the bathrooms. And it's like, so as a man, I have the ability to walk myself into the shrubbery and do my business. But, thank God I didn't have to take a dump or something because I'd have been in trouble. But, I mean, other than that, though, yeah. just poop in the woods. I was trying not to because it was kind of honestly a little bit muddy there. And since I had a brand new suit on and everything, I was really trying not to like fuck my shit up. Yeah. But I wasn't gonna wait 20 minutes to get into the bathroom, right. So I just walked up into the parking lot a couple times. But and I don't think I was the only one, to be completely honest. But other than that, it was a good time. I mean, we got to catch up with some family, did a little bit of
good.
Breaking a leg, dancing a little bit.
I hate dancing.
It was fun. I don't like. Sarah and I would do a lot of the slow dancey stuff, but I didn't really do much of the
I fucking hate dancing. I don't do it,
and I just feel kind of stupid the whole time, and I'm not saying that I am stupid because there are a lot of people there that look way stupider than I did, but I have to be a certain amount of intoxicated to participate in dancing that is not like a slow dance.
Dude, I just won't fucking dance. I can't do it.
Yeah. So it was but other than that, it was a good time. And my nephew was there. He's 5. And he was just my sister-in-law was telling me that he was looking forward to dancing at the reception, and he was going off
cutting a rug
the whole time. He was just flipping out. He was rolling around, break dancing on the ground. And then they got some light up foam sticks and like neon glasses and stuff, and so he was just running around just having a ball. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Other than that, it was a pretty good time. So how about you? How was your weekend?
Oh man, I don't even know what happened. I had a concert Friday. I
watched the boxing match on Friday.
Yeah,
I forgot to say that.
We'll talk about that. I'll bring it up.
Yeah,
on my part, and then we'll circle back. We'll get it. Oh god, there's a lot to say about that. But I played Friday evening at Davenport, a cidery in town, which is nice. Always nice to play hometown. I was out of practice, but I had a really nice crowd, real good crowd. Made some money. Sounded good. Didn't break a string. I thought I was having some issues with my guitar the last couple of shows. I'm busting my A string, but I sanded it down a little bit. The bone bridge there, whatever the hell it's called, and just enough. If there was a burr, it's no longer there. And played Friday night, and that was my last show for 2024. So that feels good. And what else did I do Saturday? Saturday, we'll get to it. I buckled down. All this is happening while I'm painting miniatures and preparing more of my HeroQuest board. But I buckled down and I beat the Dead Space remake. Well, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Also watched the fight Saturday, not live, but after the fact. And Sunday, I watched the Steeler game. Steelers are 8-2, doing really well this year, and I played some Hero Quest after the Steeler game. And then what did I do? Started working on podcast notes last night, which there's not a lot to talk about today, as I'm sure you see. But that was my weekend, man. I didn't do anything exceptional. I'm still trying to paint all this Hero Quest. It's hobbying is so enjoyable, but it's also like when you get the urge to do it, you just want to plow through as much as you can when you have that urge, because you know there's so much shit to be done. Like when it comes to like painting miniatures and like making your game and like printing off cards, like I have a system, and I'll go a week or two without wanting anything to do with it, and then I'll get the bug, like I can fucking make a dent here, and then I make a dent. But so I've been doing that. But the game, or not the game, but the fight, dude. What a fucking weird fight. Those two women were fantastic. The Olympian and Serrano, they were great.
Did you watch the whole thing? I watched the. I didn't watch the first fight. I watched like the last 3/4 of the second fight. Then I watched the title bout between the two ladies, Serrano and I think it was Taylor.
I can't remember her last name.
Yeah, the Irish woman, and then obviously Tyson Paul. But dude, the fight. Did you watch the fight before the
ladies?
The two ladies?
No. I saw a slow motion clip of a dude getting pushed into a corner and getting dry humped by his opponent. I think that might be
I don't know about that,
okay.
But
it's
like
real.
I said,
that happened in one of the fights that happened on Friday. Maybe
it was in the first fight that I didn't see, but that second fight between those two Mexican American guys, dude, it was a fucking slugfest. That welterweight fight, it was awesome. It was really good. And then, I should preface this by saying, I have watched a grand total of probably 5 boxing matches in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm nowhere near like an expert on it. And to me, the way that boxing is scored is really confusing.
I don't know how
understand
it's
that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that fight was really good. And then, dude, that fight against that I gotta figure out her name.
The Irish Olympian. She has so many belts.
Yeah.
Taylor? Is it something Taylor?
It's Taylor. Katie Taylor is their name. So the Taylor Serrano fight was I was mixed about it because it was crazy because of how much blood there was because she fucking headbutted Serrano in the face and split her eyebrow open. Dude, and you could see like it was wide open, just like fucking this huge gouge in her face.
Hard as fucking
just
nails.
Just pouring blood. And she got back out there and kept fighting. And then I gotta be honest, like, so that part of it was cool. I don't really like the Taylor's boxing style because it's a lot of like leading with the head and like clutching and grabbing and trying to get these like pot shots in and everything. Whereas Serrano seemed like she was more of like a
traditional,
like a heavy puncher. Yeah. And so at the end, it was one of those frustrating fights to watch because like, you know, there's the ref is constantly breaking them up because the one is getting in there and clinching the other one. And there were so many headbutts, and she ended up losing a point in one of the rounds.
Well, they explained the headbutt thing, and she does leave with her head, but it makes it even worse when you're fighting someone who's the opposite of you. So your fighting stance, you have a right hander and a southpaw, right? So they're
right.
they are set up in their stances in such a way that they can actually get in even closer.
Come together. Yeah. And so, like, I get the explanation, and I don't know that she was necessarily trying to headbutt her. I just think that, like, that style of leading with the head probably results in a lot more accidental headbutts than not.
Yeah.
And there may be a strategy to that. So, but I just felt bad because personally, and I don't know, again, this is down to a layman who knows nothing about boxing scoring. At the end of it, I felt like Serrano should have won the fight because it didn't seem like Taylor was doing much other than just like getting in tight and like, you know, doing a lot of grabbing and all this shit. And you would think that they would want to discourage that, but she ends up winning the fight and retaining her belt or whatever.
By decision, yeah.
By decision. And that's it's a little bit unfortunate, but, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And it's but like I said, it was crazy because they were both just like battered, covered in blood.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely left it all out there.
And even that fight before that between the two Mexican American guys, I don't remember their names, but dude, they were, like I said, it was a slugfest. So both of them, like, their faces were fucking swollen because they were just punching the shit out of each other. And like every time the bell would ring, because they were doing long rounds. They were doing 3-minute rounds and they were doing a 12-round match.
I think that's normal, though. That's not long. I think
well, yeah, okay, yeah, that is probably normal. But like between every round, they're getting in there with like the ice and the stamp, and they're trying to like get rid of the swelling, and they're sticking like the gauze up their nose and trying to get all the blood out and everything. And then they're just going out there just beating the shit out of each other some more. It's something. I got to be honest with you. Like, I really enjoyed watching it. Now, am I going to become like a super boxing fan and start paying for pay-per-view and shit like that? No. But I did enjoy the spirit of both of the fights that we watch. And I was saying in kind of our group chat that I felt like the main event was by far the most boring fight of the whole night. Yeah. And, you know, it's a lot of times it can be that way. I mean, it's obviously a lot. It has probably a lot to do with Tyson's age and Jake Paul's, you know, hesitance. But you got to give Mike Tyson props for getting in there at fucking almost 60 years old, fighting somebody more like less than half his age,
and taking shots to the fucking face. And now here's the thing:
hits to the dome, lasting 8 rounds.
Yeah, I'll say this: boxing used to be a sport you could do in gym class. I don't know if you knew that. Like, gym classes across America, like you could just go to boxing, like that. That not only was it extracurricular, it was also a class in gym. Where it's like, okay, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing T-ball. And then they're like, okay, then after that, we're going to be doing boxing. And it's like, that's not a thing anymore. So, but like, I've had gloves on when I was younger. In the neighborhood I grew up in, I'm not trying to say that we were badasses. I grew up in an apartment complex. And there were boxing gloves. So anytime any of us kids had an issue, we literally would box. Everyone would gather around, we throw on the gloves, we fucking just box. Dude, throwing punches and blocking is so much more physically demanding than you would think it would be. It is unbelievably exhausting.
Even the footwork, I imagine, is probably pretty. And they have to, so they did talk about this, like they did make a note of this at one point, like, you have to be able to breathe through your nose because you have to keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, you might get your jaw broken.
Yeah.
So, like, that adds a level of, like, imagine if your nose is all freaking plugged with blood and you can't breathe. Yeah. Dude, that's crazy.
I like the idea.
I mean, yeah.
Well, they're just, like, setting people's noses in the corner and shit, like, cracking it. And
I can't imagine, like, in the Tyson Jake Paul fight, I don't know if you noticed this, but they actually were fighting with heavier than standard gloves too.
Yeah.
They were doing 14-ounce gloves instead of 12-ounce gloves, which is the norm.
Yeah.
So that adds another level to it.
That
as
weighs
well,
their hands
which
down
is,
too, so they can't hit as hard. You know, you can't swing as fast when you have that much weight. But I would imagine the punches probably feel a little denser. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's probably depends on if they're training for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they could probably hit pretty damn hard. So,
But here's the thing between boxing and MMA's really taken off in America. Like, it's really a big thing, and you know, I understand like that is hyper violent in a way, but it could be just because like, you know, you're literally choking people, you're threatening to break their limbs, you're knocking people out with blood chokes, and you know, you're also kneeing people in the chin, face, and you know, roundhousing, and it almost seems like there are no rules in MMA. But the way that boxing is set up as a sport is like, if you come to, no one can stay on you and keep you out. So like, you can get knocked out, snap out of it on the 4 count, get back up, like, let's fucking keep rolling. Like, you can't do that in MMA. Because if you're getting knocked out, it's over because a guy's hopping on you and trying to murder you, or they're going to just keep you in a hold and you're going to tap, or this fight's over. As soon as you're knocked out, it's over in MMA. Boxing, you get many chances to be concussed and knocked out, and you just fucking stand back up if you can. And it's I don't want to. It's just different. It's a different technical sport. But like, the thing that I think is really interesting about it is that the damage you can take is centralized to the body and the face. No one's fucking with your legs. No one's kicking to your ankles. No one's kicking at your shins or your knees. No one's sliding on the ground, getting underneath you and trying to wrap you up. Like, you literally are just taking punches to the face and to the body if you can't defend them. And you're getting put against the ropes and just fucking punched and punched and punched and punched and punched. And you're literally a body bag to somebody. And like, it's amazing that I often forget how bloody a boxing match can be and how much physical pain, you know, these people probably have to endure. You know, I would imagine you go numb eventually. Like that woman's open wound in her face, I guarantee after like the first 20 seconds of that just being opened up, she probably didn't fucking feel it. It was just endorphins pumping. You know what I mean? She probably knew it was messed up.
Other than it messing with her vision.
Right, yeah, but she probably didn't have any clue how bad it looked. You know? How could she? It's not like she's looking in a mirror.
Yeah, right, but it looked fucking nasty.
Yeah, dude.
And the other lady had a fucked up cut on her eye too. I think from if not the first headbutt or the second headbutt, then probably the third one at the end there.
And I think people think that like because there's gloves, they're like it's easier, it's like wussier, it's not as full contact. But it's like, dude, get a grip, man. Those gloves are really probably implemented to protect their hands, not to protect the face and the body. You know?
I mean, I'm sure it does make a difference, but it's not like hitting with pillows.
No, it's definitely. I've been hit with boxing gloves in the face. It sucks.
I mean, it's like firm leather. It's not like it's you know. But yeah, I gotta be honest. Like, I probably prefer boxing to MMA if I'm like looking at a combat sport, just because so much of MMA revolves around jiu-jitsu and rolling around on the match and grabbing, and I just find that just like boring.
I think there's a lot of luck in it too.
Yeah,
I might get accosted for saying that, but I think that like I don't know, dude. I
think about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Boxing too. I mean, they throw a punch and like sometimes the defender jukes the wrong way and you get it freaking full contact to the like a lot of the if you watch like they showed some highlights of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson's knockout reels, and a lot of them just seem like happenstance that the punch connects, but the dude is just fucking out.
Yeah, just lit up.
And I think that there's a lot more control over it than it looks because it's moving so fast. Like how can you know? And You know, maybe a lot of it is just playing the percentages. Like if I throw a punch here right now, that's a possibility that he's not going to block there and I'm going to get him. But it's not like I see an opening, I hit it every single time. Sometimes it's just taking a chance.
Well, that's why they do those little jabs that really aren't meant to hurt. They're just meant to see the opponent's reaction and where they're going. And then you can kind of do the mental math. We're like, well, if I throw this in a round or two like this, he's going to do that, and I'm going to catch him with the other. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of calculation, and like that's where the skill comes in. And I mean, like, honestly, like, I don't know that I don't know anything about anything, guys. But like, I don't know that in MMA that they're trying to develop a tough chin. You know what I mean? That they're trying not to get knocked out from consecutive punches to the face. I know that like that's the goal, but I think in boxing, I think like you can't be a boxer and have a glass chin. You can be an MMA fighter and have a glass chin. That'll be like your weakness, but you can do everything else. You get out of chokeholds, you can slip people, you give people the slip, you can, do all the other things, submissions, but maybe the opponent knows, well, if I catch him in the chin, this guy doesn't have a chin for it. He's gone. That's what he knows he has to defend against. But in boxing, you can't have a fucking glass chin. You have to be able to take fucking punches to the face. Bottom line. And I think there's something cool about that.
I think it's really funny. Like, I'm sure from like the layman's perspective, you look at some of these hits that these guys are taking, and they're just like flinching, and they're taking it, and they're going. If like you or I were to get hit with one of those, we'd be fucking out.
On the canvas, yeah.
With like a broken neck and fucking a brain leaking out of our ears.
Yeah.
But like these guys, because they do so much rigorous like neck training and like learn to take a punch and like all this kind of stuff, it really is something
else. It's a lost sport, dude. It's a lot of people don't pay attention to it. It's cool. I watched the fight. I feel bad for Tyson, man. And if I'm being honest, I got to give props to Jake Paul for going easier on him, because he could have totally demolished him. And I think that he took the high road. I don't think it was premeditated. I think that he went in there. The first round is indicative of that. The Tyson really came out and he was fast and he was coming in on Jake. He lost his steam quick, and maybe he jacked his knee up or something. People say, he came out of the hospital in June. He had 8 transfusions. He almost died, all that stuff. And he got fight ready, in July, August, September, October, 5 months. He had to get all that back. And he's 58 years old, fighting a 27-year-old kid. Like, but the way he came out of the gates swinging and stuff. And at one point he caught Jake, and Jake knew Tyson was out for blood. And there's this funny clip, and you don't see it online, but like if you rewatch the fight, there's a scene where Jake throws his hands up like this, and he's kind of going like this, and he's like backing up real fast, like he was scared. He was actually scared. And then Tyson just got gassed, and then I think that he made Jake Paul made a decision in the ring that, number one, he didn't want to knock out Tyson, because number one, people would fucking hate him if he did that to a 58-year-old guy when he clearly wasn't a threat anymore in the ring. And then number two, everyone loves Mike, man. No one wants to see him hit the canvas. The only person anyone wanted to see get dropped was Jake. So no one wanted to see their idol hit the canvas. No one wanted that. So it's cool how he handled that, because I think he could have totally destroyed Mike in like the 4th, 5th.
It's possible, but I think that there's a little bit more to it in that, I mean, Tyson has 50 wins and 44 of them were by knockout.
Yeah.
So it's, even though Tyson can't move, I think Jake Paul I do agree with you that he probably let up a little bit like at the end of the match. But I think probably for the first 5 or 6 rounds, he was probably worried that like all it takes is one mistake in Mike to get a glove inside and I'm fucking dead.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that, but I agree with you. After the first probably 2 rounds, you could tell that like
Something wasn't right.
Tyson could barely move. If Jake Paul could have just moved fast enough to get him off of balance, he could have just pounded the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And
well, you caught him a couple good times back to back, He did.
And I will say, though, that obviously this is coming from two people who know nothing about boxing.
We're half hour in. We're talking about boxing. This is a video game podcast, by the way. We'll get to it in a second.
Yeah, but I just will say that, like, after the first couple rounds, I was pretty much just rooting for Mike to finish the fight. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to see Jake Paul get just kick the shit out of him. And I do agree with you that even though I think Jake Paul, a lot of people hate him, I don't know that he really would have cared that much from a optics perspective had he knocked Mike out. But I think that he just personally respects Mike Tyson, and so, like, they were friends before the fight started.
Yeah.
Before the whole fight thing. So I think that there's an element to that, and it was really nice to see him sort of
pay respect at the end.
I guess pay respects to Mike at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
And just kind of ride out the last 10 seconds or so. Because, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I think people were probably a little bit too ready to see Mike Tyson beat the shit out of this kid. And
that's what we all wanted.
I think it's what everybody wanted, but in reality, even if Jake Paul is not a great boxer, he's been fighting for the last
7 years,
8 years consistently and winning boxing matches, even though he hasn't been fighting maybe title contenders or anything like that. He's been in the ring, taking punches, fighting people that are equal to his speed and size. And Mike hasn't fought an actual boxing match in 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing that
he did a couple exhibitions.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about this too, and people might have heard you say, like, if Mike would have just got one in, could have ended it. And people were probably thinking, well, nah, man, he was gassed, he was tired. I will say this. Coming from experience of playing guitar for so long, there are people who can strum a chord and have it sound a certain way, and there are other people who can strum the same chord and have it sound another way. And the way that you strum a guitar comes from experience and from getting in front of people and doing it. And I think there's a certain confidence that over the last, Mike's career, he's not going to ever forget how to fucking punch effectively. And no matter how gassed he is, taking a punch from Tyson when he's tired probably hurts like fucking hell, because this guy has years and years and years of nothing but that in his life. And, you can't take that out of him. And I think that Jake probably knew that like, even though he's tired, even though I'm not going to give this guy a chance to fucking ring me, ring my bell. Because Mike definitely could do it with his upper body strength, no doubt. And just the method of throwing a punch. There are ways, there's so many different ways to throw a punch incorrectly or throw it right or whatever, but Tyson found out what worked for him, and he dominated with it nonstop. Like, I don't know, he fought 50-some people and only lost how many? Four,
I think it was 50 and 6, I think is what it was.
You put me in front of fucking 56 people and get me in a fight with them, I might win one. Like, I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to fucking beat anybody's ass. That's not me. But let's talk about video games, man. I'm glad we had a big, longer opening, because there really is not a lot to talk about. Every episode, we talk about games that we're playing. And as I mentioned earlier, I have now beaten the Dead Space remake, and I have not jumped back into Metro Awakening in VR2, but I will. I promise I will do that. So with that being said, Jake, I really liked I really liked Dead Space, the remake. It was good. There are a couple things that I didn't like about it. The saving is antiquated. I don't like it. I don't like finding terminals to save in games like this, especially horror games, because it just adds to the stress. Especially, when you can't find the terminals and you're like, I'm going to fucking die again. I know it. And I even played it on easy mode. The zero G parts, I got better at them as the game progressed. So at first, my initial take was I didn't like the way they controlled, but I think they're serviceable. Graphics were fantastic. Audio engineering was fantastic. I'll say this about the story. I made the mistake of presuming that I was going to get more cutscenes that kind of told me the story, and I didn't. The story is told through all the fucking pickups and the logs that you have to manually read and sift through. The story of what happened on the Ishimura, and
there's a lot of audio logs.
Yeah, they just weren't super clear to me, and like so by the end of the game, I didn't fully understand it. And maybe it's my old age or lack of ability to pay attention. This is going to be a spoiler, so if you've never played Dead Space or the remake, plug your ears for the next 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But now, correct me if I'm wrong. There was an item that had fallen to Earth or somewhere, and it was called I forget what they called it, the marker. And then humans tried to replicate the marker. And there was some sort of cult that erupted on this ship. Some cult followers or something. And they were trying to like get power from this marker or do something with the marker. I don't know what the fuck they were trying to do. And ultimately it led to people turning into these fucking alien things. These guys that you're trying to kill. And then there were spores. And it was just like, okay, well, I'm here thinking that I'm here to do something. And I've been sent out as an engineer, and it turns out that the government that sent me already knew this ship was fucked. Well, they sent us anyways, and I don't understand why. And then there was like your love interest would show up from time to time, like on the screen, and then like was she even real? Was she really communicating with you, or were these like memories? And then towards the end, I kind of feel like your character was going a little crazy. And like was envisioning her when it wasn't really her, and he'd gotten desperate or something, or maybe he was poisoned. I don't know. Maybe he has the fucking problem. Maybe he was infected. But like, ultimately, you scuttle and you send the whatever the thing is out of the spaceship. The Leviathan goes, and then you have a way out. You have the marker. And then the marker is going to get ejected or get taken or something. But then your teammate isn't your teammate at the end, and she comes back. I was so fucking lost, and she came back, and like she was bad, but then she was holding up the person from the hydroponics facility. But you saw her as like your love interest, and like Isaac's just like, what, or whatever his name is. And then she's like, no, pay attention. And then she leaves. But then she shows back up, the love interest person, like the girl with the blonde hair. And she's like, you can do it. You can do it. You just have to get the marker. We have to get it loaded or whatever. And then you do this mission. You load this marker thing, and it goes to another planet. You jump in a spaceship, and you go, and then you do something with it, and you finish the pyramid thing, and then you get out of there or something. And you're just in your spaceship, and then your love interest is sitting next to you. And then she's like infected. And she's like, wah, and that's the end of the game. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck just happened. I thought I was literally just trying to get off of the spaceship and save my ass. And then it turned into this whole thing about this alien marker thing that ruined everything. And then there's like these people that I didn't even think meant anything. Now they're important characters. So I don't know. Call me crazy, but I didn't read a lot of the text logs. And I was hoping that I was just going to get the story fed to me in a more convenient way. I didn't do the digging. I'll have to watch like a recap of the story, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't probably tell you like the real nuts and bolts of the story. I mean, What I remember of it basically is that the Ishimura sends out a distress call, and you're there to sort of answer it, and Isaac's fiance or whatever happens to be stationed on the Ishimura, so that's like his sort of one of his reasons for being there, and that's why he's like looking for her the whole time. And then I believe that like the everybody going crazy is like a it's a side effect of them digging up the marker on Mars or whatever, or whatever the fuck planet they're at. I don't even remember. But there is a lot of nuance to the story that I don't.
Oh, so
I don't remember.
Okay, so I just looked it up on computer. They're saying that like Isaac's hallucinations of Nicole, which was like his love interest. There were hallucinations that were created by the marker to get him to do what the marker wanted, to return it to the hive mind. So she actually ended up killing herself in a message to avoid becoming a necromorph. So that's interesting.
Oh, I do remember that part. I don't remember the part about her hallucinations being a manipulation of the marker, but I do remember the part about her killing herself. Interesting. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Otherwise, I mean, it can be kind of annoying whenever you don't really understand what happens at the end of the game. But I would think that you would agree that just the experience of playing the game was good.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. The combat, the guns, everything. The force gun is awesome. The gun that just like blows like fucking gravity at people. It's fucking ratty. Just microwaves people. They explode or whatever. I don't know. It was really cool. The gun I liked the least was the contact beam, which was just like a straight laser shot. The mini boss battles were fun. They were tough. The hunter was interesting. He would chase you around, and you had to torch him eventually with the jets of the escape pod. That was fun. There's the stasis was cool, where you could like slow shit down, and then also you could use like the gravity, whatever. You could suck stuff towards you, and it worked really well. Really cool game mechanics in that game. It was the remake is a fantastic game. Just reading through the Wikipedia story synopsis actually makes me like it more. When he escapes and he's in the shuttle by himself after it's all said and done, he sees his love interest next to him, and you're like, what the fuck? Like I was like, I thought she died, and then she like feigns to like attack him. That's a hallucination of her.
Yeah.
I was like, why is she here now with him? He's just imagining it. So that makes sense. It's just a jump scare at the end of the game. But I like the game, man, and I probably won't play the second Dead Space, but I don't know. Does it pick up where that leaves off?
Yeah, the second one is not has not been remastered or remade as far as I know. But I think that it takes place on Earth after he gets back. So it is like a continuation of the story.
Oh, all right.
I played Dead Space 2 until almost the very end, but I never beat it. I did enjoy the first one more. I just think the Ishimura is just an amazing set piece. But I never did finish Dead Space 2.
Yeah, it was really cool. Really big ship. The level design was cool. I liked it, man. But I'm going to jump back in Metro Awakening here, hopefully tomorrow. We're recording this Monday night. Also, if you're a supporter of our show for $1 a month, you tend to get these episodes a day or two early, FYI. Jake, what have you been playing?
Same old. Playing Metaphor. I'm like 50 hours into it now. So I've got, I don't know, a long way to go still. Probably another, I guess, 30 hours or so is what they're claiming. But still really liking it. I was planning on jumping back into, because you were talking about playing
Astrobot?
Metro. And so I was thinking about jumping back into Half-Life Alyx. And actually yesterday I cleaned out the room where my PC is at so that I could kind of maybe play it a little bit more. But then other chores and stuff kind of got a hold of me. So I haven't really done much else. I don't really have anything else to say about it, but yeah, still good.
Cool. All right, fair enough. As far as listener feedback, we had a comment on a short video I've been posting, just negative bullshit that I'm not going to even address. Like, all I wanted to bring that up is like, why do you waste effort to be negative online? I just won't never understand it.
Well, you can be you can have constructive feedback that might disagree with some points that we're making. I mean, those.
Oh,
kinds of
it wasn't that.
always, always welcome.
Someone was
But
just
if
like,
it's
"You
just
guys need to quit doing the podcast." Like it was like your guys' show clearly doesn't get enough likes. Just give up already.
Yeah.
It was like shit. Like it's like what? Like, dude, if we were doing this for the likes, we would have never like gotten past the 10th episode.
We wouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
That's the problem with the generation these days. Like people only do things to like get what is the word? And I know I did make a plea the other day about like how we need to get more listeners, but it's not for any other reason, but I enjoy interacting with other people on the show, with the listeners. But like I could care less how many people actually listen. I couldn't care less rather. But it's like I feel like there's a generation gap where like people do shit just to get that instant gratification or feedback through anonymous people online. Like that's the bar of success now, is like how many views or how many likes, or if you have a blue check mark or whatever. It's just so silly. It's so trivial and fake. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't do anything for that kind of shit. I'm sure you don't really either. I mean, like, you do it because you want to fucking do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's nice to have feedback and listeners and all of that stuff and validation for doing what you're doing, but
it's not required.
I mean, you know, it's one of those things where I don't know that it would certainly help with the motivation to know that more people were relying on you to make the content, but at the same time, it would also add to the stress of it. So I don't know very many people that succeed at something, it's something like this just for the likes, if that makes any sense.
Right.
They succeed because they do it because they love it.
Right.
And then the likes come because of that.
Because of their passion for the thing. Yeah, right. Or their
But who
original,
knows? Maybe this person's listening to the podcast and they're like, I made that comment. That was me. And they've got their own validation at this point. So who the fuck knows?
Yeah, just keep giving back. Yeah, no. It's just an interesting thing and an observation. But we'll move into the first little news point. I'll just say that our shorts are, well, it's not even a news point, but they are driving up traffic to the YouTube channel immensely. Like, it's ridiculous how much those help. I hate doing them. It just takes time.
What's that?
The shorts, the YouTube shorts. They're like 15 to 40 second clips of something from our show where we say something stupid. I did your thing where you said Japan funny. That was hilarious to me. That's a short now. Japan. It was hilarious, dude. But anyways, yeah, it mostly thumbs up on all the shorts. But yeah, we have more people have dialed into the podcast videos after finding a short of us talking about PlayStation. Now, those people aren't subscribing or anything, but they're at least putting some time in on watching what we're saying, which is cool. So that is a way to maybe bring some attention to the show. Maybe some of those people are tuning in on different forums, and they find the podcast through a short, and then they go subscribe on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or whatever. But anyways, that's working. Let's get into the first news point. We've been going at this way too long already. First news point is this. Jake, you and I were big fans of Resistance on the PlayStation, and Resistance Fall of Man and Resistance 2 are releasing on PS Plus Premium to stream. So I don't know, that means that we can't get them with our subscriptions because we have PS Plus whatever, not Essentials, the next one. What is it? PS Plus bonus?
What, extra?
Yeah, we have extra. Yeah. So they're not available to download. You can only stream these two games. But could this mean anything, or are they just making them available finally?
Dude, I'm at the stage where I'll believe it when I see it with Resistance. I mean, to me, it's like saying that they're available to stream. They did zero work because those things are just streaming on PS3s in fucking warehouses. So it's like, It's like, okay, you just booted a PS3 and made it fucking available for people to play it over the internet.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, that's not an ideal way to play these games. Just freaking it, like, at this point it's like I don't even care if you make a new Resistance game. Just port them in like a remastered format so that we can play them on PS5. I mean, that's really all people care about at this point, I think.
Yeah. This is a sidebar, but I wanted to bring this up. Now, I don't know if you've ever been. I saw this YouTube clip, this video. I watched it. It was it was by a channel called Chase After the Right Price, and the title was "The Largest Collection of Sealed Retro Games in the World." And if anyone's looking for some old games that are still sealed and you're looking for a fair price on some of these games, I can't believe these are still sealed and just unopened. So the guy said that they have a gross profit of like $8 million a year or something on this warehouse of games. But they're constantly changing the prices of shit that they're selling. They have a real nice web store now. It's just called dustygame.com. And Jake, you should go check this site out while we're talking, because prices seem really fair. For sealed games. They're not used. They're brand fucking new. Just, they're the original game, but never opened. And I don't know how you get a collection like this. So you could go to like PS3 at the top. There's so many games, dude. There's so many games. There's a lot of games. Not infinite games, but there's a lot of games. And it's kind of cool. It's a cool site. It's somebody who either paid for advertising to get on YouTube to have a video that popped up on the feed, or whatever. But they've got Vita games on there. I'm not promoting them. I've never used their service, just so you know. But it is a real site, and you can get these games. And as you can imagine, the Vita games are kind of pricey, because good luck finding these games now anywhere in the wild. Interesting site, though. So that was a sidebar. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
It's interesting. Hopefully it's not a scam.
There's no way it's a scam. Why
do you say that?
Well, because I saw the video. Watch the video on the main site when you have time. Watch it.
Okay.
It's legit. You can see the warehouse in all the games. Like it's real. Like this guy operates. I forget where he's based out of, but they've been around for a while apparently. And they are. I'm trying to figure out where they are. For the listeners, it's just if you go to About Dusty Game, they used to sell a lot of their games apparently on different sites, but these other sites started taking a cut, so they created their own website, and they're just doing direct to consumer now. So it's just like any other used game store, but it's not used. They're most of them are new. I think they might have some that are opened, but I'm not really entirely sure. But I don't know. I just think it's really, really interesting. The contact information doesn't leave an actual address, but they are stateside from what I understand. So
interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll quit talking about it.
Where the hell do they get all this?
It's a business. So like they go and they find these games, or they buy them wholesale and they keep them, and then they advertise them as being new used games. You know what I mean? New old games. So it's just really fucking cool, actually. I don't know, dude. It's just kind of interesting. That might be a scam, but I'm not going to vouch for them. I've never used their service, but I'd be curious if somebody does. What you find.
It'd be quite. I mean, the only, I guess the way that you could probably just get an idea of what it's like is like take some of these games and just cross-reference them to price charting or whatever, and see like if they're comparable. And if they're like, they might be a little bit cheaper, but they're not like a third of the price. Because that's where I get a little bit freaked out. Like you see these websites that sell Lego kits, for example, and the Lego kit is like literally a quarter of the price of buying it on Lego's website, and it's like, I don't know if I believe that. And and then you read some of these things on Google about how they're scams, or like you'll order like a Lego kit and you'll get like a box of freaking duct tape or something.
Yeah.
But
well, I'd be curious to try it just for like the price of like a $15 game, just to see if it's legit.
Yeah, for sure. You could download or you could buy Dora the Explorer Super Spies for Game Boy Advance for $20.
There you go. So, all the completionists out there.
Austin Powers, Welcome to My Underground Lair for Game Boy Color.
Sealed.
For $60.
Wow, must be a hard one to get. Anyways, I thought it was interesting. Anyways, let's move on, man. Resistance, I don't know. I hope it comes back. They probably have Resistance on there. So the next news point is we had speculated a while, Jake, about who was going to do voiceover work now for the character Sylens in Horizon. And there were questions about who would be reprising that voice role. And for the Lego games, apparently, Tim Russ is going to spearhead this role. He plays Tuvok in Star Trek. So that does not mean necessarily he's going to be Sylens in the next big Horizon game, but the Lego game, apparently he is voicing the role. So interesting news there. Jacob?
I've never heard of this character that you speak of.
From Star Trek?
From Star Trek. But then again, I haven't necessarily watched much Star Trek other than Next Generation. So, and even if it was a Next Generation character, I wouldn't know them unless it was like the main four people. So, yeah, but that's cool. I mean, hopefully, I guess I need to hear a sampling of his rendition of Sylens, but I'm glad that they found somebody.
Yeah, me too. So it's Star Trek Voyager, I believe, is the show that he voices, or is Lieutenant Commander Tuvok on Tuvok, is now going to be our dear Sylens in Horizon Lego. So, anyways, moving on, because I know we talked about that. Now, Jake, I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, but that game Arc Raiders got a really cool gameplay video, about 10, 15 minutes long, of what this game's all about. It's an extraction shooter, but
I saw that they posted it, but I didn't watch it.
So it's really cool. It's a beautiful game. It very much feels like a dystopian Division. Brighter colors. The gunplay, well, in this demo, you didn't really get to see any kind of crosshairs or anything. Like, they didn't have like the reticule up, so it looked even more realistic and cool. But third-person shooter, Arc Raiders. It's ARC space Raiders. I forget who is developing this one. It is Embark Studios. They're using Unreal 5. And man, it looks, I just like the visual, everything with this game. It's really cool looking. And I don't understand what exactly, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about it. And they don't seem to have a whole lot of information on it on the website. They just say, earn your keep in the struggling colony of Speranza. Fight for survival against ruthless Arc machines roaming the surface and other raiders standing in your way. So you're essentially going out. You are a raider. And I think you're grabbing supplies. You're going on missions to find specific items in this world. And you go out in groups of 3, it seems. and you each have an objective in your group, and you try to fulfill your objective and then get back to safety. There are machines, for whatever reason. I don't understand the purpose, why they're there. I don't know any of the lore, but the graphical character design, world design, the way the bullets hit objects when there's firefights, very realistic. Very fucking rad. Game looks cool. Is it going to play well? I couldn't tell you. Is it going to be fun? I don't know. This was a nice little gameplay loop demo thing they showed, and I think you can watch it on YouTube. So it sucks that you didn't watch. I should have told you to take a look at it.
I mean, I'm scrubbing through it right now. I mean, it looks good.
Does look
the
good.
Extraction element isn't really my cup of tea, but it does look fun to play.
It looks like the Division kind of to me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the aesthetic of it.
Love
they're
it.
wearing these like gnarly freaking backpacks, and they got these helmets on, but
Why is
I think the
everyone
idea
spiraling
Hold on a
over
second.
YouTube banning ads?
I paused this damn video and it started talking over our podcast. I'm sorry, guys. Keep going, Jake.
I think the idea is that like some machines took over the world, kind of like a Matrix style thing, and like all the humans live in like these small little cities, but like these Arc Raider guys have to go out to try and get resources to bring back for the city, like the people that live in these like small cities underground or whatever. I think that's kind of like the gist of it, but yeah, I haven't watched much other than what I'm kind of scrubbing through here, and just at first glance, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments. I went to the YouTube trailer, the thing that they just showed off recently. It's just, I think about 6 days ago, it came live here. Let me see when this posted. I can't find a date on it, but everyone is saying that the sound design is fantastic, and I would agree with that. Other people were kind of upset that it was previously kind of going to be a different kind of game, not going to be an extraction shooter. And it also went from free to play to $39.99. I don't know. To me, that sounds like a fine price. I think this may also be the same studio that was involved in the finals. Is that correct? I really liked the finals. I thought that was a great game. I don't know if this is the same studio or not. But the sound does sound great. They look cool. They sound good. And it seems like when I watched it, like you could almost locate where the gunshots were coming from. Like the gunplay seemed really realistic to me when I watched this. So there's a very big divide between like the robots versus like these guns. They're like bullet guns. They weren't like laser guns. They're like bullet firing guns, which is kind of cool. I don't know. Graphically, it looks awesome. So we'll have to wait and see, man. But Arc Raiders is on my list of now to kind of pay attention to. So there's that. We can get on to the last news point here. It's been a really dry week for news, and we're trying to keep the listeners entertained best we can. But the Video Game Awards, VGAs, they had led prior to today saying that Game of the Year for nominations, it could include DLC and remasters. And they caught a bunch of shit online about this. Like, how can that be Game of the Year if it's a remaster or DLC for an existing game? Well, they've announced now that the Elden Ring DLC is being nominated for possible Game of the Year. And the world has turned upside down today about this. And I didn't even check to see the other nominees for Game of the Year, and I can pull it real quick. Nominees for Game of the Year. Let's see. The nominees are, according to first thing I found was a Polygon article, is going to be Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is what's catching all the flack, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is kind of that's not a remaster. It's a remake. And then Metaphor, Refantazio. We're going to be the 6 nominees. So, I don't know how I feel about that. Jake, you got any opinions on this?
Well, I think it's stupid because I'm pretty sure there is a category for like best video game add-on content or something like that. So it's like, why are you
double dipping?
It seems to me, it's like, I get it. It's like Shadow of the Erd Tree is like this big expansion and yada yada yada. That's great and all, but I always thought that Game of the Year should be reserved for new ideas, and new experiences. Yeah, maybe some of these experiences are sequels, but they're still full, complete games that have their own stories and everything like that. And I don't know. I guess something like Shadow of the Erd Tree, or if you want to talk about something Sony, like maybe like Lost Legacy, Uncharted Lost Legacy, or something like that.
Excuse me.
It's like, yeah, I guess technically these have a bit of content and they have their own stories and stuff, but I don't know. It does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? No. I think that it probably deserves to be there more than maybe one or two of these other games that are in this list.
Yeah.
But I can understand everybody's gut reaction to being like, I don't like this. So, I don't know. I think we've just been getting so much of like this rinse and repeat shit with games and like reinforcing like sequels and all this stuff that like I would like to just see new ideas and new games and stuff be represented. Like, you can say that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a remake, but it's a completely reimagined version of that story. Like, it's not like it's a carbon copy that's just remastered or something like that. It's a completely different take on Final Fantasy VII's, a part of Final Fantasy VII's story.
Here's a question.
Balatro is a completely new idea. Go ahead.
This is going to open a whole fucking conversation. I don't mean to do that, but would you say it's comparable to, we all know Guns N' Roses, maybe one of the best bands in the world, wrote Civil War, right? Great song.
Love it.
What if some kind of Hawaiian ukulele style band cover Civil War in their style and reimagine the song, and that gets nominated for Best Song of the Year, and that band gets credit for it, not Guns N' Roses? Like, would that piss you? Is that like the same thing that we're looking at? I always try to frame things in perspective of music, because another form of art. Is that?
Well, no, because it would be like if Guns N' Roses remade the song and that version became
interesting,
nominated for a Grammy or
they
something.
rewrote their own song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not like somebody else made a version of Final Fantasy and then that became... So, like... And I'm not saying that there isn't some truth to what you're... Like, the spirit of what you're saying.
I know what you're saying, though.
But,
it does change the way I look at it now, the way you've reframed that, because you're right. It is the same developer.
Or like God of War. You know what I mean? Or like God of War 2018, for example, or something. You know what I mean? It's... So there is something to be said there. But, I don't know. It's like one of these things where it's like, guys, fucking Elden Ring already won Game of the Year. Can we chill out? Like, let somebody else freaking win Game of the Year. And so like I don't know. But like, does it deserve to be there? Like, maybe it deserves to be there more than Black Myth Wukong, because Black Myth Wukong is another Souls-like game, but arguably Elden Ring's probably better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's one of these things where I'm just like, when I first hear it, I'm like, ugh. But I don't really care that much.
Yeah, I could
mostly
give two
because I'm
shits,
not
dude.
all that invested. I would love to see something like Astrobot win Game of the Year? Or
It's not even nominated.
Oh, it's not? I thought you said it was.
Did I? I didn't think.
This is for the Game Awards?
Yeah, hold on. Game of the Year nominees 2024. I didn't think it was. Yeah, it is. I take it back. I'm a fucking idiot. It also got nominated for Best Game Direction. So that's where I got confused.
So Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth, Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor. My guess is that this is probably gonna end up being maybe Metaphor or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth would be my guess as to who will probably win. But I would love to see Astrobot win.
Yeah, Astrobot's nominated for a lot of shit.
Those types of games just don't get a lot of love nowadays. And I platinumed it. I absolutely, and obviously LJ talked about it on the show. Like, a lot of people absolutely love that game. So, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know that I really have too much to say about the rest of this. I didn't play Balatro, but I guess people really like it. Black Myth Wukong. It's a Souls-like game. I'll probably never play it. I did play Elden Ring, but I didn't play the DLC. And then I'm playing Metaphor, and I've played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Both of those games are great. So I've played, I guess, 3 of the 6 of these, and all 3 of the ones that I played, I believe, are worthy of Game of the Year noms. So I'm not gonna poo-poo this list too much.
Well, the best VR AR game, Vertigo has 2 games in the ring for this. They have Arizona Sunshine Remake, and they also have Metro Awakening. They're up against Asgard's Wrath 2 by Senzaru, Batman Arkham Shadow, and Metal Hellsinger VR. I bet you Awakening I put money on that Vertigo gets it with one of those 2 games.
I mean, I've heard Asgard's Wrath is pretty good, but I've never played it. I think people might really like that Batman Arkham game as well. Although, what's tough about a list like this is that, like, if a VR game is even remotely good, people think that it's a Game of the Year contender because there's not
so
a lot
few games that are
to
really,
get excited
really good,
about.
yeah.
So, all of these games are probably good. So, I don't know. It'd be cool to see something like Metro win.
I'd love to see it win something, man.
But I haven't played. I wonder what Metal Hellsinger VR is like.
That
seems like it would be nauseating. But maybe not. Maybe it's fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Jake, that wraps it up for the news today. There's not a lot of news, and I just I'm happy to still be doing the podcast. I don't know. We got to come up with a closing. I'm sure you have something you'd like to say to listeners before we sign off for the day. We're in over an hour already, so we talked a lot about boxing today. I'm sorry, listeners. A lot of jib-jab, a lot of talking about that kind of stuff going on in our world right now, so it's been fun to chat about, but not a whole lot of news. I'm going to get into Metro Awakening a little more and come back with more new information. And just for the sake of funniness, we are going, at least this episode and last episode, with some very typical YouTube thumbnails for our podcast now. We're jumping onto the bandwagon, doing funny, stupid stuff. So, anyways, go look at them. Jake, what do you have to say?
I don't know that I have really a whole lot to say. I was just kind of scrubbing through the list of nominations for the year for the Game Awards, and yeah, like best role playing, Shout of the Erd Tree is nominated there too. Like you would think, for example, if Final Fantasy Rebirth wins Game of the Year, then shouldn't it also by default win Best Role-Playing Game?
Yes.
Like, should that not be 100% for certain?
Yeah, because if there's a better role-playing game than that, it has no business being Game of the Year.
Correct. That's my opinion anyway. I can understand people being like, okay, well, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a better role-playing game, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a better overall experience. Not necessarily specifically in role-playing. But my whole thing is just like, bro, if you're the king, you're the king. No matter what what genre you're a part of. But I could understand someone being like, Final Fantasy 16 is the game of the year because it was a great game and a great experience, but it's not the best role-playing game because there's not a lot of role-playing elements to it. We just shoved it in this category just for funsies. And it's a Final Fantasy game, so we have to call it a role-playing game. So I guess I could kind of get that, but when you have a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that is obviously a role-playing game and obviously a Game of the Year contender, like if it wins one, it should win both. But same thing with like Metaphor, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Shadow of the Erdtree. All three of them are in both of those categories. So my guess is what they'll probably end up doing is they'll give let's say they give Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Game of the Year. They'll throw a consolation prize to Metaphor Refantazio by it being best role-playing game or something like that. And it's like, I don't know. That's why I hate these award shows. It's all just like bluster and bullshit. I mean, I don't know that it's just like press that votes on these things. Like there's no, I would love for there to be like a, and maybe there is, and I just don't know. Like I would love for there to be like a like Metacritic style component to this where it's like, this is for, let's say, I don't know, best audio design. You had a winner that was the press winner, and you had a winner that was the user rated victor. Like it would be kind of cool to see like what is the differentiation between what the press actually, like what the press think in their little bubble and what the actual people who play these games, what they actually think about what's good and what's not. And maybe it means that Call of Duty wins every category. I don't know. But like, I think that there's something to be said about these awards where like every single year we look at the winners and we're like, I don't know why. There's at least one winner where we're like, I don't know why they won that. And it's like, that's not an uncommon sentiment. So it's just, it's all, I mean, it's a show. It's a performance. I get it. But, I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, really this event is more for the reveals than it is for the awards, but it's good for them, I guess, if they win.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. All right, man. Well, that wraps up for today's show. This has been episode 352 of PS. This is awesome. Thanks for tuning in this week to Jake and I's weekly video game conversation, all things PlayStation, and we are happy to come back next week. So with that out of the way, I bid everybody a happy, safe, whatever you want to call it, week. And, watch out for deer. They're in rut right now. So, like Ib and Ob, Idiot Squad, and In Nightmares. P.S.
Yes.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.